Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, looters, shield, oscillation, pests, and vassals. I'm Useful Idiot. Today I want to talk about Egypt again, and what a series of events. I don't really have that much more to add than what I said on my last video about Egypt, although I'm surprised that the violence has escalated as fast as it has. And I also thought that perhaps we would have seen more violence perpetrated by the Islamists and the supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood, Morsi supporters. As it turns out, the military regime that now controls Egypt decided to take the preemptive strike strategy and basically perpetrate extra violence against the Muslim Brotherhood and supporters rather than wait for something to happen. And they most certainly did. So we have a 6-week sit-in, a peaceful sit-in by Morsi supporters. And the government finally decided to crack down, and over the last several days unleashed a bloodbath. And the body count rose rapidly. And we're getting figures all over the map. And we can certainly discount the figures from the Muslim Brotherhood, which are hitting 2,000 killed and 10,000 wounded. But the more likely figures are the ones that have come out today, roughly 600 dead, which will probably keep rising, and 3,000 wounded, which will also keep rising. And those are pretty huge figures. And I might even stick my neck out and say that the Egyptian civil war has already begun, because not only is this a massacre by any standards, but we have the setup for a continual showdown. I don't imagine that the Muslim Brotherhood supporters are going to back down now. We're going to see a repeat of what we've seen throughout Egyptian history, and that's an outlawing of the Muslim Brotherhood. But in order to facilitate this move, there's going to have to be a vicious crackdown. And that is exactly what the Egyptian military is doing. I suspect that their philosophy, considering that they authorized deadly force right off the bat, and this huge and amazing assault, is that they have decided that shock and awe is in order. They are going to make sure that everyone understands the Egyptian military is back in power, and they have no restraints, in spite of international condemnation and lip service from the Obama administration. And we also are seeing all sorts of other repercussions of this. So not only was there the initial crackdown on the Egyptian protesters, but then there was the backlash from the Muslim Brotherhood supporters all over Egypt. And thousands of buildings were burned and attacked. I think something like 40 or 50 policemen were killed. And we're even seeing retaliations against churches and Coptic Christians and all sorts of other people. And then another added layer, and this is one of the reasons why I'm willing to step out and say that this Egyptian civil war has already started. And it may end soon, too, but I don't think that discredits it from being a civil war just by its length. And we also have civilians apparently coming out armed with clubs, helping the Egyptian military take on the Muslim Brotherhood. And now we have all the markings of the old school Egyptian government. We have a month-long state of emergency. We have a dusk to dawn curfew. We have not only a coup that occurred, but now we have a military dictatorship. And even the vice president stepped down because he doesn't want to be part of what's coming next. And it's interesting, too, that the Obama administration is still balking at calling it a military coup, even though it was planned weeks and months in advance by the Obama administration and the Egyptian military. And I'll attach my previous videos about Egypt below, so you can fill in the blanks, because there's things I'm not going to rediscuss that are in those videos for the sake of repetition. And one of the other things about this situation that are disturbing is a couple things. One is that the huge mosque in Cairo, the Rabba al-Adawayi Mosque, and pardon my pronunciation, was destroyed in the assault. And that's one of the repercussions I hate to see all across this region, is these these world legacy sites and these ancient mosques and these ancient churches all destroyed in the name of these petty ideologies. So a shame to see so much history lost over these squabbles. And another aspect of this that I find rather intriguing is the fact that why couldn't they just wait until the next election? Would it really have been that hard to just struggle along with the Muslim Brotherhood, see where it went, and then not have a military coup, and then just vote him out? If they're that against him, just make sure they vote him out next time. Although, of course, we know elections all over the globe, including the United States, are all rigged, so maybe that isn't the best bet. But it is a surprise that they didn't give Morsi very long before they just basically called the military back, the ones that the Egyptians had protested against initially, called them back to save them. And then last but not least, one of the things that's disturbing about this whole episode is, once again, we have the United States probably not going to suspend their 1.3 billion a year in Egyptian aid, although they have called off impending Egyptian U.S. military exercises that were supposed to go on next month. And they haven't had them since 2009, so it's not really that big a deal to call them off. But once again, that's just lip service from the Obama administration trying to express some feigned outrage. They are happy. The Obama administration is happy. They would have worked with Morsi. He was an American puppet, and he proved that by not really changing any of Egypt's policies towards Israel. But now the United States is really happy to have the Egyptian military back in power. The Egyptian military works with Saudi Arabia, and they work with Israel, and they work with the United States. And that's the way they like it. And interestingly enough, also this week, it turns out that the Egyptian government, the Egyptian military, as it were, and the Israelis are actually combining efforts to fight militants and extremists who have been operating in the Sinai Peninsula. So now that Morsi's gone, we have the Egyptian military back in, and we have complete cooperation between Israel, Egypt, and the United States again, and Saudi Arabia. So that's as it should be, and how those states want it. And then I want to finish up the video by talking about the fact that we I can hardly believe this, but so who does the United States send to represent American foreign policy? 2 congressmen have gone to Cairo. Yeah, you guessed it, John McCain and Lindsey Graham. So if the situation in Egypt wasn't fucked up enough, the United States sends 2 of its biggest warmonger, stooge, bootlicker, fucked up corporate lackey scumbags, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, to represent America. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.